There was no organization that had all this information in 1981. There were no support systems. And I was devastated with the diagnosis.
You have to realize it was not an easy decision at that time. There were not the support groups so much. There weren't people, there were just beginning to be people to talk to, and there were a lot of different opinions, which I found out.
When I was diagnosed at the age of 30, that was 1986, I did not find any information on support groups of women my age anywhere.
Living Beyond Breast Cancer was founded in 1991 by Marisa Weiss, who is a radiation oncologist, and she had just begun her practice and had inherited a large population of patients who were finished their primary treatment with breast cancer, and the hospitals were doing treatment, but no one was really talking about life after breast cancer.
When I started Living Beyond Breast Cancer, it was just me in the third floor of my house. I had a few people who helped me here and there, volunteers who sort of rolled up their sleeves and jumped in and made a big difference in making the work possible. And we didn't have any money to hire people. We had no official space to sort of bring people in, yet we had a flood of volunteers in and out of the house, and that built up over the first 3 years.
Women with breast cancer and women struggling with issues around breast cancer had no voice at the time. And breast cancer was just beginning to hit the scene as a singular issue that needed a lot of attention.
I was first introduced to LBBC and their conferences. And I saw an article in the paper. I decided that I wanted to attend. I hadn't seen any other information out there that was a conference concerning breast cancer, and I was just very interested to go to meet other women, to hear the topics, and also to obtain more information on a more personal level from people who had breast cancer.
I felt thankful that I stumbled and I found LBBC, and the education that came out of that conference had me armed with so much knowledge to continue my treatment, but also after treatment had me ready to be an advocate.
Women were flooding us with interest in the conferences and questions about their own issues around breast cancer. So we were sort of juggling huge growth at the same time we were forming the agency itself. It was a very exciting time.
Initially, we were thinking we were going to work on a pamphlet for information that African American women could take home with them. As we began to do the focus groups and speak with the advisory committee, we knew that there needed to be something more than that. We began to see a theme that was threading through all the information, and that was getting connected. Getting connected then became the title of the book.
It's won national awards. We've distributed well over 50,000 copies. And in 2011, we completely redesigned, rewrote, and published the second edition of the book.
Jean Sachs called me and asked me if I would create and facilitate the first training for the helpline. And the helpline is a program where women who are survivors answer calls of women who are newly diagnosed or have questions or family. And it was an incredible experience.
It was trial and error. We didn't know where we were going with this. We didn't have a roadmap, but we clearly understood our mission, and that was to help women to get past their diagnosis.
This was a unique way for the organization to connect, and it was also one that sort of was innate to the organization. It sort of replicated what the people who had started it and continued to evolve it were all about. It was that very deep connection, trying to help you understand what you're about to go through, be there as a support mechanism for it, and on the flip side, to give back.
for women who aren't able to come to a big city to hear the latest in breast cancer research, to be able to call in to a web conference is an incredible opportunity. And as a provider, it gives me great satisfaction to be able to answer women's questions and give them information that I know they need and they want in a venue where everything is focused on the patient.
There are so many things that Living Beyond Breast Cancer wants to do for women with breast cancer, and we have limited resources. So one way that we do more is we partner with like-minded organizations. So a good example of that is we partner with the Young Survival Coalition, which is an organization out of New York City specifically created to address the needs of young women.
I mean, if you look at how that particular part of Living Beyond Breast Cancer has grown, that whole young survivors component, it's huge. And from a businessman's perspective, I really appreciate that they're able to say, this could really help us get to be a national player and use it as a stepping stone as a national player.
I can remember specifically being at the one in Denver where people came from every state and over 10 countries. And yet they thought it was important enough to make the long trip just to learn about the disease and how to go about dealing with it.
I could not believe that there were over 500 young survivors at this conference. I left there in tears, more tears of joy than anything else. And there was finally a resource out there.
The yoga practice became something that after treatment, I was able to sit down with my instructor and say, you know, we had something really great here. It worked for me. Maybe we could share it with a larger community. And so Jennifer Shelter and I approached Jean Sachs at LBBC, and she said, sure, let's give it a try. A large-scale yoga event to support Living Beyond Breast Cancer in a fantastic venue, the steps of the Philadelphia Art Museum.
We had been looking for an event that wasn't a run or a walk, because we thought there were a lot of those out there, but that was a low-cost, very visible fundraising event that a lot of people could participate in. And we're now going to do it in Washington, D.C., and our hope is that we'll keep doing this event in different cities.
Living Beyond Breast Cancer is a recipient of the 4-star Charity Navigator Award.
In LBBC's case, less than 20% of the money spent is spent on overhead, administrative issues, and fundraising. Over 80% of the dollars are spent for the programs. That makes them a very effective organization. When you're giving money to an organization like that, you know you're funding the cause for which you're giving the money. You're not funding the raising of more money.
We were able to get ourselves the Charity Navigator Award because we keep our costs down and our programming up. And that's real important. When people give to breast cancer, they want to know that it's going to affect someone.
I would say one of Living Beyond Breast Cancer's biggest accomplishments when it was being selected and receiving a transformational grant from the National Philanthropic Trust. We received a grant that gave us $750,000 for 3 years consecutively.
It allowed us to develop a strategic plan, grow the organization slowly, bring on new staff people, which was really, really important.
We were able to develop educational publications, bring our website to a new level, and increase programs and services to women living with metastatic breast cancer, a population that was underserved.
I feel very strongly that we use the power that we have as a brand and an organization to support something that's really good. We talk about our brand as being very unique and special. We don't like to think of ourselves as being like anyone else or doing business like anyone else. And when I met the folks from Living Beyond Breast Cancer and I learned about the organization, they too are a very unique and special organization, and they do something that is very different and very special for the community of women that they're involved with. So that alignment felt so strong to me.
The corporate support has become very significant to LBBC's overall revenues picture each year. We are blessed with organizations like White House Black Market. We have great support from some of the pharmaceutical companies. We've had great support from Crate and Barrel and other retailers over the years, from Comcast Spectacor. This support has really enabled LBBC to expand its programs and create a broader vision for itself.
My hope for Living Beyond Breast Cancer is that we can find lots of other ways to reach the women that don't know about us now, and make sure that when you get that diagnosis, someone's handing you that card to say, call this number, or look on this website, or let me give you this publication, and they can connect with us when we can be the most helpful.
Living Beyond Breast Cancer is the staple in my life. If I have any questions, if I need to know anything, that's the first place I'm going to call.
Even though for me it's been 6 years, that diagnosis never goes away and it never leaves my mind. And I know that when I need some support, there's always a place that I can go to get that.